All right, today I am taking a look at horse soldier, and there are several expressions. This is sort of the starting point expression that's called the signature. Pertinent right now because it was just announced that Gallo, which is obviously a huge wine supplier, also a large spirit supplier, New Amsterdam, Pink Whitney, several brands, has just taken their very first investment in American whiskey, a category that's been on fire for the last 10 years. And everybody was always asking Gallo, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Because Gallo has really probably the best sort of supplier content sales driven team out there. So what were they going to do in this category was of interest to a lot of people. And so it was just announced last week that they were taking a strategic investment in the Horse Soldier brand. Now, this is a brand that's been around for several years. Without getting into too long of a backstory, essentially it's named after, and it was initially run and is still run by some of the initial special forces teams that went into Afghanistan after 9/11 on horseback, because that was sort of the only way to get into some of these more remote areas. So relatively dramatic, heroic story, very interesting. There's a movie about it, but essentially that's where the brand has originated from. And really since then it's taken off. I mean, the guys, to their credit, the guys that were involved in the brand and are still involved in the brand did a fantastic job of showing up and doing events and really getting the word out on this brand. They announced last year a $200 million distillery in Somerset, Kentucky. And so I guess this is just still a part of that growth. Don't know if that's still on or whatever, but that is where Horse Soldier stands today. And I have to tell you, I was actually a little bit surprised that Gallo picked this brand because I don't know, it didn't seem like it was in line with sort of other Gallo brands. But if anybody can make a run at it, I think the Gallo folks will do a really good job of getting the word out on brands. That's what they do. So just facts on juice and products. So this signature is 87 proof. On the back, it has an age statement that says age for a minimum of more than 2 years. So you could be sure that, if it's 4 years, they don't have to put an age statement on it, but they normally would if it's a new brand. So this is definitely in that 2-year range. Otherwise, if it was 3, they would put 3 on it. So it's not very old whiskey. It is made in Columbus, Ohio. So Middle West is really the only option there in terms of what DSPs could produce this juice. I know that they have contracts with other people, but in this particular case, this is Columbus, Ohio, 2-year-old distillate, marketed by a company of ex-special forces who are owned by a California winery with a distillery coming in Somerset, Kentucky. So hopefully you followed all that, but at the end of the day, it's still product on the shelf, and it's our job to try it and let you know what we think. So here we go. So obviously at 2 years old, there's certain aromas that you're just not probably going to get. Some of the more sort of mature oak aromas you won't get necessarily. But this is a really nice sort of molasses note right off the bat. A little bit of wet earth. And that wet earth note is that touch of immaturity that you can smell. But then past that, it's got licorice. It's got kind of a tea tree oil thing going on. A little bit of kind of a walnut, sort of hazelnut, sort of nuttiness on the nose. And maybe just like a little touch of honey going on. But it's kind of that walnut tree aroma with the sweetness of that kind of that molasses type, that really sort of dark sweetness that I'm picking up here. All right, let's give it a shot. Lighter and fruitier on the palate than what I would have expected, honestly. More of that walnut's coming out. There's some complexity there. There's a little bit of a tobacco thing going on. Some dried fruit, some tropical fruit, some kind of pineapple notes going on. A little vanilla, a little toffee. So you have some sweetness there. A little bit of leather, but generally it's a really nice sort of light honey style starter bourbon. It's not overly oaked, it's not overly complex, but it does have a nice progression of tasty notes as you go through it. I think the challenge for this brand is obviously going to be the premium price point that it's at, versus the way that the juice is going to get put into the bottle. And knowing Gallo, it's possible that they have, vast stores of bulk purchased whiskey that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. I mean, I'm sure that that's possible. And so you might see the flavor profiles, the age statements. You may see a lot of that change here in the coming months as they've taken Gallo on as a strategic partner. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens to the whole Horse Soldier brand. I think you'll see a lot more of the brand. They will probably invest a bunch in advertising and getting the story out. They'll be in every account. They'll be everywhere. And then you'll see kind of what happens to the lineup, whether they put an age statement on it and premiumize it or do something else to it. We'll just have to wait and see. But as it stands today, this signature expression, I would say this is decent. I wouldn't say it's like, blowing my hair off or anything, but I'd say it's a decent bourbon. It's got that complexity. It's got a really, straightforward flavor profile. Definitely not sort of flawed in any way, but I would check out the whole lineup, as they have some other whiskeys in the lineup that I think are really good, but that is the deal with Horse Soldier. All right, cheers.